in their hearts. We hear the call. R.E.D. forever we stand with the red, white, and blue in this promised land.
Happy Friday, America out there. Alan Beal, CEO of Armed Forces Brewing Company, here on the Red Friday podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. It's Friday. I'm wearing my red. I hope you are too. We got a lot of deployed troops, and it's been interesting to watch this all unfold in Iran and everything. I'm glad we haven't had any, casualties recently. But anyway, we are live streaming over on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram. We got a live stream going over on Instagram, and on YouTube as well. So thank you for joining us. Red Friday podcast. Last week we had Judy Stavely on, Dr. Judy Stavely. We didn't get to finish the whole interview, so we've got kind of a part 2 coming up for you, about 5 minutes, where we ask her, because she's a scientist. She's a scientist in a lot of different aspects. I swear to God. We had to ask her one last question, because it's going to be the biggest topic. If it's not the biggest topic yet, I don't think everybody's taking it seriously. But we had to ask a scientist like Dr. Judy Stavely, who's worked at the government levels in biotech and everything else. We had to ask her a specific question. So we'll play that here in a few minutes. But a lot going on. The company is just continuing to try to move forward as fast as possible. If you're a shareholder in Armed Forces Brewing Company or have been following us, we're in Operation Norfolk, and I think it's going to be an interesting May. It is going to be an interesting May. More on that coming up down the road. But I am back east because I'll probably have to be going to court down in Norfolk District Court. Quite a bit, as our company seeks to get the truth out about Norfolk and unmask the anonymous woke mob opposition leaders down there. So anyway, things are coming. Thought those fireworks might come in June, but they're coming in May. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited. Our company needs their day in court. Our shareholders do. They deserve that. And we're on a recovery mission now. Anyway, Nick and Mo's. You can order a beer at Nick and Mo's wine and liquor store in Lakeland, Florida. There has been looks like there was a glitch in the shipping, and thanks to some of you, we got a heads up on that. There was a glitch in some of the shipping there, and then I was told the IT department there had fixed it, and now just a text about 15 minutes before the show. Hey, you got a problem with the website again, shipping. Now, we're not the IT department, unfortunately. Otherwise, that thing would have been fixed right away. But we've reached out to Nick and Mo's, and hopefully we can get that glitch, whatever that is, remedied. Man, technology, jeez, it makes our life easier. Anyway, so we'll look into that, and I will report back to you. Maybe we'll pop something out on social media to let everybody know, and an email to shareholders. Shareholders, stand by. I know some of you are listening on all of our social media channels are out there. Talk about technical difficulties. We keep getting kicked off X. I don't know why. We were in X jail. They don't like us live streaming out there for some reason. So, unfortunately, they like to kick us off on X. I don't know. Maybe somebody's reporting us. I don't know. We've looked into it several times. And anyway, come on over here to Facebook. Come on over to Instagram. Meta seems to treat us pretty good. And you can check out my LinkedIn page if you want. You can just do a search for Alan Beal on there and find me. I think I'm the guy in sunglasses with a big flag behind him or something like that. And you can watch there. All right. So we apologize for any tech difficulties, but it looks like some of the, or at least X anyway, is not liking us too much. All right. You got questions or comments or anything like that, please go ahead and put them in the comment section of whatever you're watching us from. We love comments. Even if they're from trolls. We get a lot of trolls. They're mostly in Norfolk, Virginia, or in Virginia, but yeah, go ahead. Troll out there on chat so we can block you. Anyway, boy, Virginia. It's almost like, man, you guys are, I don't know. Virginia's destructing a little bit, maybe. Anyway, had Judy Stabley on last week. We're gonna play part 2 of that for you guys because we want to hear what she has to say about this question that I ask her. And we're going to ask everybody that comes on the show. Later on in the show today, we've got the executive director of 22Zero. Pam is coming on. Pam Arnell. Just back from Laredo, from the border in Texas. We're going to hear about that and about 22Zero. Doing incredible work. God, these people are nonstop volunteers and nonstop working on taking care of veterans, first responders, family members, and they're doing God's work, and they're amazing, amazing people. So a big beer toast to them. But we're going to have Pam on here tonight. She's coming on at the bottom of the hour. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm sure you saw in the news about Ibogaine. The FDA, they're going to do some R&D, looks like, into Ibogaine therapy. As you know, our friend Robert J. O'Neill has been going to Mexico along with Marcus Luttrell and a lot of other SEALs, Marines, Green Berets, just veterans, period. And the success rate of this iBegain program is incredible. It's off the charts. They even made a documentary about it in the Waves of War. You can see that on Netflix. Texas kind of led with a $50 million investment into research and development of iBegain therapy. Of course, the Luttrells are there in Texas, so they helped spark that. And this program works. It's hallucinogenics, and it works. And I've got friends that have been going to it. Obviously, we've got people involved in the company that have been going to it with huge success. Huge. Rob talks about it on his podcast, the Operator Podcast. So I think I think it's absolutely incredible, just absolutely great news that President Trump is approving this and they're going to get this this therapy going legally in the United States. It's ridiculous for veterans to pay $4,000 to $8,000 to go down to Mexico to get a therapy that is saving their lives, literally saving their lives. When they should be able to get it right here in their country that they fought for and sacrificed for. So this is a great step in the right direction. Great step in the right direction. A lot of things are loosening up. How about the cannabis? I know, the government's trying to get their claws in to figure out, and each state is trying to get their claws in to figure out how they're going to tax it. They want their pound of flesh. And honestly, you guys, that stuff doesn't mesh with my chemistry at all. I've obviously tried it, but it doesn't mesh with me. But it helps veterans with PTSD. It does. Absolutely. With people. There was a video going around, a guy with Parkinson's disease that was just shaking. As soon as he, took to Jeffrey, the shaking stopped. So I hate the smell of it. I hate the smell of it. But gosh darn it, I'm willing to smell it all day if it helps my fellow Americans, especially our veterans with their PTSD. I mean, what's the difference? You go into Washington, D.C. and you smell it everywhere anyway. Go to the grocery store. There it is. So what the hell? Why not? Anyway, I just think that's funny. That's kind of all the update on the company and everything right now. But I can't wait to get Pam on here. She's got a great program with 22-0. She's going to talk about the veterans, some of the issues going on, the uptick in PTSD triggering, and we're gonna get a lot of info, and it's gonna be a great conversation. So she'll pop in here about 16 minutes, folks. I'm hoping you're having a good Friday. It is almost May. April 24th. It's almost May. I can't wait for May. And again, if you just joined us, welcome. Thanks for popping on. May will definitely be a interesting month as we get this thing going, and we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Okay, I just can't get over. You guys got to forgive me. drink a couple beers, and I could talk about UFOs and this alien shit all night long. Because I've been at this stuff since I was a kid. As long as I can remember, I was reading books about this stuff. I can remember being in grade school checking out books from the library on this stuff, or my mom taking me down to the city library to check out books. I was fascinated with this stuff. When are you going to know something about our share prices? Well, Mark Roberts, we're not a publicly traded company, Mark. Right now, obviously the company is closed a brewery in Norfolk, Virginia, and you know that, Mark. We're trying to get the company going again after a terrible experience in Norfolk, Virginia. That brewery's up for sale, and we're trying to get our beer back out to market. We're working on that. At the same time, we're going to be dealing with a major lawsuit down in Norfolk, and about something about your share price. I will make sure when we send out a shareholder update, Mark, we'll put that in there. We'll put something and address that question for you. Shellback Smitty, Mark Roberts in the house. Shellback Smitty, Red Friday for North Kakalaki. That's great. Shellback Smitty, he's posted videos of getting beer at a store. I love it. We got to get some fresh Grunt out, though. That's the next beer that's coming out as soon as we can get that brewed. Grunt. We're working on that. Get the hell out of here, Mark. He's okay. Mark's okay. He's a good guy, Holly. Holly, our Arkansas connection in the house. God, I love Arkansas. What a great state. Beautiful state, Arkansas. Home of Walmart, too. Grew up in Arkansas. Grew up going down there. God, my grandparents and dad are buried in Harrison, Arkansas. You need the preamble. I know. We're working on it. It's down in Florida right now. Anyway, back to this UFO thingy, Majeg, because that was the question I wanted to ask Judy Stavely, and we're gonna see what she's quite the skeptic. She's totally. I'd like to get more time to talk to her about that. And her husband's a Top Gun too. He's a Navy pilot. And has never, she said he's never seen anything. Of course, I was with them all. I was with Dr. Judy Stavely Wednesday night in D.C. at the Platform Magazine April issue launch. Tier 1 operator John England was on the front cover. It was great to meet him. What a badass. And I happened to ask Pete to come on the show. Pete Stavely, he is a badass too. He's a Top Gun Navy pilot, but he's not the podcast type. And it was kind of loud in there, so I couldn't really get into a conversation. Hey, Pete, have you seen anything about the UFOs and all that kind of stuff? But we're gonna try and get somebody, one of those pilots, on here. My friend Eddie Molina, who might be watching right now, writes for Law Enforcement Today. He's a good buddy, and he brings some people onto the Red Friday podcast. He wrote a story about UFOs. He's been damn it, Alan, you talk about UFOs, you got me all hooked on it now. And he went out and wrote a story for law enforcement today. Um, we'll have to post that as well. I'm telling you, it's going to be the biggest story ever when we find out what the hell this all is. What it all is. So I think let's hear what Dr. Judy Stavely had to say about it, because she brought a point up about. I'll let you listen to it. She brought up a point up that I didn't really consider. It definitely is a physics point, and it's interesting. Here's what she said. If we can get it going here. I might be having a technical difficulty here. Come on. And I got a couple questions for you real quick.
Oh, of course.
We do all sorts of topics here. You know, we talk about beer, we talk about veterans issues, we talk about politics a little bit, but we also talk about some really crazy stuff. You were on the scientific spectrum there. UFOs.
So,
are aliens coming? What's going on, Judy? Tell us.
I am not a conspiracy theorist at all. And you know that because I'm a scientist and I am evidence-based and I
Yep.
need evidence to, prove facts. So I'm factual. But the funny thing is that, I'm a scholar and I sit on a lot of different scholarly boards. And I attended one of my scholar meetings a few weeks back, the Reasons to Believe fellow board that we get together once a month and we discuss interesting topics. And I'm talking about these individuals are really highly qualified. Like, I think I'm highly qualified, but these guys take it to the next level, right? So there was a very engaging topic on UFOs that took from a different perspective, and which made me think. And there's a new name. It's not UFOs. They have a new name for it. UAPs.
Yep.
And so that's the scientific name that they're going with. It's UAPs now. But, who knows? There's so much physics out there, right? I love physics, and all these guys are physics experts. I'm not a physics expert, but I did take physics 1, 2, and 3, and I love quantum physics, and I know we have different black holes, and there's stuff that we'll never understand. And as a spiritual person also, we discuss that. I'm on the spiritual side of stuff. So it's very interesting that we can take the spiritual side from, the Bible, and then also the scientific side, and then kind of bring them together and then kind of say, well, there is something out there, but it's bigger than us and we still need to study it. But it seems like these physicists know something that we don't. And there are things out there. It might be, they think it's, well, I asked the question for you, Alan, and for all our guests, what could possibly be, right? And they think it's magnetic resonance.
Magnetic what?
Resonance. So the Tic Tacs,
Yeah.
remember the Tic Tacs that came
Yeah.
out on the news?
Yeah.
So that's what's, the biggest question was. But who knows? You're waiting for the green little alien guy to pop out of the sky.
I'm waiting to hear from Burchett and Luna on, what is this stuff that they've seen supposedly? Because, geez, now they're investigating. I just heard this on the way back to the office here, talking to you on the phone. I had it on a radio station. They were talking about the 10 scientists that have now been missing or murdered or whatever this.
I'm following that too.
They're getting into some stuff here, and I'm telling you, it's going to change society. It's going to change the world if this stuff is what they're saying it is. Or
It's very interesting because, again, I grew up around it. I grew up around with my parents being in the Air Force during those eras, right? And so my mom was always reading about UFOs and Area 51 and it always, but I'm like, that stuff is not real. But as a scientist, knowing physics, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to find out, and it's so sad to hear about these people missing or being.
Yeah.
It's just it's I don't know, but I did see the White House is getting involved in that,
Yeah.
and we want answers. That's what it is. We all want answers. That's not my expertise, but
Well,
I do sit with some really intellectual people, so it's very
yeah.
interesting to know what they think.
What's your personal opinion, though? Are they real or not? Are they from another planet or another dimension, or what do you think?
Are you talking about these little green people or these little like,
Whoever's got this
or
technology,
or you mean
whoever's
like the
driving
Tic
the ship.
Tacs? You got to be specific. The Tic
Uh,
Tacs. That
are
I
there
mean,
aliens from other planets?
I don't. I mean, aliens is such a general term. I'm gonna say I think there's something out there. Like, I do agree with the magnetic resonance. There's like electrons out there, right? I think there's something with the sun and the moon and the earth and rotation of the
Yeah.
axis and making things happen. I don't know. I mean, that's why we need to go back up in space. I think NASA needs to be involved in this. I think the scientists, we need to bring the science back into this, and all our physicists, and work with the Navy, because the Navy is one of the biggest agencies out there that
Yeah.
they're out in the waters, they're out working, you know, on sea, air, and space. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. They have the technology. If they're going to find out, we need to hire the correct scientists to be contracted with the Navy and work with NASA and have a collaborated effort to bring us some factual evidence, right?
And, yep. And what's the interesting? Got to get with the Navy. Go Navy. They seem to be seeing, all that stuff out in California and East and West. Doesn't matter. Anyway, interesting take. A lot of the physics involved with this stuff, magnetism, what you call it. Interesting. Gonna have to look into that. Anyway, so folks, it's been a mission of Armed Forces Brewing Company and a personal one of mine to help veterans, especially that 22 a day. That is a number that has been around for years, and it's probably more than that. Having a lot of veteran friends coming from military family. We've all experienced and have friends, or some of you veterans have PTSD, and everyone's different. It can get quite complicated, but it is always sad when we lose an American to suicide, especially veteran suicide. And I bringing on someone here who's the executive director of 220, Dr. Pam Arnell. How are you, Pam?
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Welcome to the Red Friday podcast. You and I have had a couple conversations about this issue. I mean, it's horrible. You deal with it every day because you're out there talking to veterans every day. So tell us, Pam, about 220. When were you guys founded? And we'll get into Laredo here pretty quick. You and I have had a couple interesting conversations just here in the last couple of weeks about the uptick in PTSD triggers, and I'm going to let you talk intelligently about that. So tell us about 220.
Alan, thank you for having me on. So 220 was founded April of 2018. It is a peer program that is done fully remote. It is not that traditional talk therapy, which means you don't talk about the content of the traumas. And it's 100% confidential, so we do not report to the VA. And if you are a first responder, we do not report to your employer. Our mission clients are going to be the armed forces, any branch, any time served, deployed or not deployed, and also first responders. So that's going to be law enforcement, fire, EMT paramedics, 911 dispatchers and corrections, gold and green star families, spouses,
Wow.
spouses and minor children living in the home as well. We strictly rely on donations to fund the mission. We do not bill insurance, and it's really just about healing the men and women that serve and protect us, be it in the armed forces or first responders.
Wow. So 2018, and you guys recently went to Laredo. I mean, you just got back, what, Monday from Laredo, right?
Sunday.
Tell us about that. You said 781, was it National Guard, Border Patrol agents had been deployed, or go ahead.
So there's 861 men and women deployed in Laredo.
Wow.
That's going to be for the armed forces, the military. And that does not include the number of border patrol that are there as well. One of my peer coaches, so he was trained in August. He's also a combat vet, and he's now a chaplain with the Border Patrol. When he went through the training in August, he reached out to me and said that he really wanted to do a boots on the ground. And he said, I've really been praying about that, and it's just something we need to do. And I said, well, I'm not telling God no. And that kind of took care of that. But basically, we had been working on this event since September of last year. And April was the launching of the boots on the ground to cover all of Texas.
Wow. So what happened when you got there? Tell us what you guys did, and what was, you and I talked a little bit about when I went down to Eagle Pass. That was definitely a hot spot down there, and you could just tell how war torn, the National Guard, Federal Guard, and Border Patrol agents were. How was it when you went to Laredo?
You can tell that they're struggling, and I think people don't realize the things that our armed forces who are deployed stateside, they see a lot of things. Basically, the only thing that's really missing is if they were over in the Middle East was the IEDs. And Tim told me, he said when he was deployed overseas, he knew what he was going into, and he knew about the IEDs. And so when these men and women are deployed on the border, they're deployed stateside. Well, they don't expect to see the things that they see or hear the things that they hear, and it's problematic. He said the only thing really is they're not seeing the IEDs there, but they're seeing so much other things that are traumatic.
Yeah, when we were at Eagle Pass, we were supposed to go out at midnight with a group, and they canceled. They canceled it because the cartels were active out there, and the Border Patrol had tried to catch a mule, coming across the border with an igloo cooler full of cocaine, and the Border Patrol caught. Well, they shined the lights on her. They saw her. She dropped the igloo cooler and ran back across the border. And they said she'd probably be beheaded. And I mean, it's brutal over there, just like you were talking about. It's like the Middle East without the IEDs.
It's brutal, and I think the big thing too is when they're deployed stateside, those are typically 6 months. Sometimes it may be a year, but then when they
Wow.
do get back home, I'll give you an example. So I've had a couple of meetings to do boots on the ground in a couple of other states, and last week I met with the Brigadier General, who was telling me that 1,500 of his men and women just got back from being deployed to the border and are now being deployed to the Middle East. So,
Wow.
we're going from one, even if it's stateside, then going over to the Middle East. So there's, it's not really a lot of room for them to really just digress and process what they experienced on the border. And that's sad, because it's our men and women, they do what they're supposed to do because that's what they took that oath for. And, it breaks my heart because I know there are so many of them struggling,
Yeah.
and they're not given the opportunity to get the healing that they deserve to have, and that's sad.
Pam, let's get into the why. Why are they struggling? Um, they're you're the one talking out there in the field, boots on the ground, talking to them every day. Tell us why. Why the uptick?
So let me kind of give you another perspective before I go into that. You know, 8 years ago, they said there were 22 veterans that died a day by suicide. We know that number is much higher. What's going on at the VA? It's not working. They spend all of this money, and we're still seeing suicides, but yet they don't want the holistic approaches. I've tried many times to get into the VA to offer our services for our men and women, and they refuse to talk with me. The other piece to that is when you're looking at going and serving and protecting and doing the things that they do day to day, be it deployed stateside or overseas, or even if they're just at home, they do not have the support that people seem to think they do. And that's a big one. I got an email from a good friend of mine. He's a combat vet, and we're really good friends. And he got an email, and he said, "Let me ask you something. This is what I found out. TRICARE is not paying for these services. These men and women are seeking for, services such as mental health or whatever, and providers will no longer take TRICARE because they don't pay. Or they're taking 1, 2, and 3 years to pay the providers. So let's be realistic about that. The providers, that's their job, that's their income. But in serving our men and women that are struggling, the government is not helping by
Yeah.
being efficient for the men and women serving. And it's not just the armed forces, it's first responders as well.
Sure.
And so, but the big why is they're not getting the support that they need. They're not, there's so many different things, such as personal issues, family issues. There's just so many different variables that kind of play into that. But overall, they're not getting what they need. And that's a problem. And, when he asked me, he said, "Do you know someone that would be willing to do an investigative report?" Because he covers, a big portion of a base. And he said they have to drive 100 miles to go get some help. And I said, "Oh, good Lord, that's messed up.
Yeah.
That's so wrong." So,
They
that's
they can't get the physical plan together for our veterans, let alone the mental health. You know what I mean? What is the answer to all this? Is it a national convention in Washington D.C. where we get all of the everyone in one room and just lock everybody in until the minds, people experienced people like you can talk. I don't know what good it does. Talk to our Congress folks who hold the purse strings to all this stuff. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. Don't know. Everyone's different, and ibogaine therapy, as great as it is and as great as I've seen it work and everything, is not for everybody.
I had a message today. I was talking to a veteran today, combat vet, and long story short, he went and had the ibogaine, and it made him worse. It actually, he
Wow.
said it made him a lot worse. And so it doesn't work for everybody. Not one modality works for every single person. And I think the sooner we can get government, Congress, the VA to understand there are so many different modalities and you can't just pick one. And here's the other piece to that. My fire chief is the one who connected me to 220. He had gone through the training in 2021, and because I do have that clinical background and being in the first responder role in my community, he wanted me to have that training because he said, Big Mama, they come to you anyways, which is true. I'm Big Mama. And so I did, but nobody knew that I had 3 calls at the fire department. Nobody knew that I had 2 calls when I was a reserve deputy for 5 years. They were really problematic. I went to my doctor and said, put me on something. And whenever I went through the training, because part of the training you actually are going through the process. I finally caved out of respect for my fire chief because I respect him. I said, fine, you're not going to be quiet until I do. So I did it. But it was at that point that I had what was an immediate shift, and unless you've been through the program, it's really hard to explain, but it's, trauma is not a disorder. It's an injury and it will heal.
Yeah.
And being able to look at the different modalities, the process that 220 uses is non-invasive, it's non-clinical, and it's that peer program. But the other piece of that is you do not talk about the content. I can make you trigger without you ever talking about the content. That protects you, but that protects my peer coaches, who I'm very protective of, who do not get vicarious trauma from hearing that stuff. Well, okay, why is it so hard for, any of us to go and speak to the government and in DC and say, hey, this is something to consider? They don't want to do that. They want to keep doing the same thing they're doing. And how's that working out for them? We're still losing men and women.
Yeah.
But you can't get them to understand that for whatever reason. Until it happens to them, there's not going to be a change. And that's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I mean, there's like you said, there's a lot of different therapies out there, and Ibugaine's not for everybody. Matter of fact, that's a really intense therapy. Hallucinogenics, that is an intense therapy.
Yes.
I'm not a veteran, didn't deploy, haven't been to war like those men and women have. You know what I mean? So I can't fathom what they've been through.
Right.
Not, and again, what is the answer to all this? What is the answer to all this? It's chaotic. It's not organized at a federal level. There are great nonprofits and healthcare groups like yourself that have different programs. We've got another friend, Jason Ladd, who's been on this show. He's got a faith-based program that's got a huge success rate as well. What is the answer? Don't know.
If somebody can let us get to those individuals on the Hill that will make a change, then, or at least listen to us, because getting in the door to at least have somebody listen to you is one big hurdle. But letting it be known there are other modalities. If they even knew, the majority of the veterans don't even go to the VA, and they'll tell you they don't want to go to the VA, especially if it's the mental health side, because they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They don't want to talk about it. And you can't get those people up there in DC to understand that. And I hate saying it, but, and it's sad to say, but until something happens to their family, we're just people. That's it. We're just people, because they have the ability to make those changes. And after all these years, they have yet still to make those changes.
Is there any kind of annual National Veterans event or conference for healthcare and counseling professionals and groups like 220 and UPAM? Is there a national conference?
So the American Legion has a national conference. There's different conferences, and even going to those conferences, they're not the ones that make the change. It starts up at the top.
Gotcha.
And I've been to those conferences many, many, many times, and I've spoken, and their hands are just as tied, because it has to start at the top. And until somebody listens to us and says, okay, maybe we should do something different, maybe we should make a change, Yes, that would be a good first step. At
Yeah.
least, our armed forces, they're at least going to try.
Wow. Uh, there's some great questions here in chat we'll go to here in a minute. Um, Getting back to Laredo,
Mhm.
um, and kind of a couple of conversations you and I have had in the last couple of weeks, there's an uptick in PTSD and the war in Iran can be a trigger. Deploying troops is a trigger. You and I both have a lot of veterans we follow and keep track of out there on LinkedIn, especially out on social media. But what are you hearing? What are you seeing out there? What are the causes of the uptick in PTSD related issues?
The lack of the services or resources that they need, the lack of funding. They don't get paid an awful lot of money to do what they're doing,
Yeah,
especially, those that are not generals. So, those that are mostly boots on the ground. Um, Finances is a really big one.
when the
Not
economy's bad.
yes, and not having the mental health support that they need, because what happens is, when they're not able to get what they need, what do? They start drinking,
Mm,
they start using, and I'm not saying anything bad about drinking, but what they do is they're self-medicating. They're
sure.
self-medicating with alcohol and or other substances, because they're just trying to drown out those images, trying to drown out the pictures, those memories, the sounds, and that's where things just kind of start spiraling. Uh, if they're drinking and or using other substances, and it's their time to be popped for a drug screen, guess what? There we go. You're positive and you don't have a prescription. So that's an issue as well. I don't think people really understand from the family perspective for, the armed forces that are serving, because I've had so many people say, "Why are you so adamant about the armed forces?" My late husband was a combat vet, that's why. He served 26 years and he was in Desert Storm. So I met him right
Wow.
after he got back. I mean, he hadn't been back that long, from Desert Storm when we met. And so I know what we went through and I know what he went through, but I know how it affected the family as a unit. And so many times people leave the family out, or they leave the spouses out. Okay, well, who do you think's running everything when they're gone? And even if, looking at, let's say they're in the guard, so they still have their weekend drill, but then they have their annual training. Well, somebody's got to take care of the household, and so many people don't realize how hard it is for the spouse and for the children, and that's another thing. They feel bad because they know how much their spouse is having to take care of things, or how they're not able to go to their children's recital or watch their play because they're deployed, and they know that that's hard on their family.
Yeah. Uh, we got a really good question here, Pam, and comment from Holly. Do you think veterans don't seek that treatment in fear of losing benefits? I have heard that so many times. Um, how does that even happen?
So absolutely.
How does
um,
it even happen?
so when they have a disability rate, let's say they have a disability rating, if they and there's kind of going to be two parts to it. So let's say they have a disability rating and they're told to go get treatment, say it's mental health. Well, one, they're concerned they're going to lose that rating, that it would affect it or impact it. And then when you've got like a medical rating, say there's a disability rating based on a medical condition. And then let's say they finally say, okay, well, I'm struggling mentally, and then they want to, you know, have that rating changed, but they can see how it may, I don't want to say it could, it may impact their ability to get the benefits that they deserve. The other piece of that is you've got those that have those real high clearances. And if you
Yeah.
think they're going to reach out and try and get help, that could affect them having that high clearance, and they're not going to, they'll struggle. And that's not okay either. One of the things that I can say for 220 is that whatever rating you've got, I promise you, you have earned every bit of that rating. Keep it. I just want you healed. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, obviously there's 220.org. You can be contacted through there, obviously. But do you have any other boots on the ground events coming up? You guys went out to Laredo, and I'm sure you had great attendance out there too.
It was.
Yeah.
It was amazing. They were, in shifts, getting off at 2,
Yep.
going to 2, so they were all, taking turns coming in, which was amazing. I have to give a shout out to my community, Giles County, for coming up with the items for the care packages. So we shipped 11 boxes that were, the postman said, not over 70 pounds. So 70 pounds each for those 11 boxes. Those items that we sent for those men and women that came out of Tennessee for, the ones that are deployed there. And there were a lot of different items, jerky, coffee, wipes, whatever, candy, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But so the other the other 2 states are in the early stages. I was asked to go attend in Pennsylvania, which I did in October. Spoke with them. We've had more meetings. Had a meeting last week, the same day that I went and met with the Brigadier General, because he and his wife were in Tennessee for a military event. And so we had a meeting, and we're looking at next April being that one, because they're going to be trained in August for the boots on the ground there, and then we would announce it and have that big event in April. The one in Tennessee, we're looking at that as well. That one's still in the early stages as well.
Pam, isn't it, I'm going to use this word, isn't it kind of eerie when you go to the border? Isn't it? It was totally eerie to me, because across the Rio Grande you could see their houses, and you could see the cartels watching you with binoculars. And in Arizona, we could see them down the road where there's not even a wall, with an AK-47 or a gun or whatever, a rifle, whatever. It's eerie down there, and you go to the base there, and you meet with these Border Patrol agents and Texas National Guard folks from whatever. It's super eerie. It's different. It's like walking in. It's like, are you really in the United States? What's your take on that? Because it was wild.
I mean, at the very beginning, it was eerie in the sense that it finally dawned on me, hey, they're going to the border, and I thought, okay, But I also know it was a mission.
Yeah.
And I really rely on my faith and my relationship, with God. And
Yep.
I know He is not going to send me somewhere that I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to be protected. And any team that went with me, I had a team who went with me, and then I have my team that are there. We were all protected, and I knew that was going to be the case. I wasn't scared. When I realized it, early on, I went, oh, wait, I'm going to the border.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, well, I'm going. So, it's a mission. I feel when God tells me to go somewhere, I'm going to go, because I know He's going to take care of me and protect my team.
Yep. And they're not down there. They're not down there just twiddling their thumbs. They're down there doing an important service to our country, guarding that border down there. It is not a cakewalk at all.
Right.
Like what you said, when we went down there, I think the first person that actually came up on us was a New Jersey National Guard guy that had been federalized.
Mhm.
And he hadn't been home hadn't seen his wife in 6 months, and they were That was during the hotspot phase back then in 24, I guess. It was they were beat up. You could see it, and they were happy to see us.
Yes, well, and you know, I knew that they were struggling just because of talking with my team. I'm really close with my team. We at 220, we are a team. There is not one person. It is a whole team that embodies this mission. And we've had many, many meetings, and you know, I knew the things that were told to me that were going on, and I knew what I was expecting for, you know, to see the sadness and the struggling or trying not to struggle, you know, those fake smiles, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Those were things that I would say, and I did. I saw that and more. And all I could do was, you know, just be there, be that light for them. And we have an amazing ambassador program, and a lot of them, you know, they're veterans, and so they're also in the independent music industry. And I was able to get sponsorships for covering their travel, so they were able to go down and perform for the troops, and they
Wow.
loved it. Well, my ambassadors loved it, but the troops really loved it. I can't tell you the number of times they would come up to one of us and just thank us. They would give us a hug, and they just thanked us, you know, for being there and supporting them. They needed that, and I knew that they needed that.
Yeah. Pam, how can we out there support 220 in your work? Best way.
So, best way, sponsor a veteran, sponsor a first responders treatment, because our mission clients do not pay. We don't bill insurance. We strictly rely on donations to fund the mission. Sponsor, you can go to the website. It's the number 22 and then ZERO, zero spelled out, .org, and it is a 501c3, so you will get a donation letter for the donations. Also, follow us on social media. That's where you're going to get all the, you know, up-to-date information as far as, you know, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of those platforms. 220 is on there, and follow 220 Texas, because 220 Texas has got its own Instagram now. Thank goodness I don't have to handle that one. My Laredo team handles that one, but sponsor a veteran, sponsor a first responder. You know, go to True Victory. True Victory has our merch. Go to Armed Forces Brewing and get some merch, because that's what that's
Yeah.
what to support. You know,
We're donating $2 for every T-shirt we sell to 220.org. So, yep.
yes, just support Armed Forces Brewing and support True Victory and get merch, and that's another way to support us.
And what if someone's a veteran, a first responder, or a Gold Star family member, or you know, a family member that is in crisis, you know, that might need your guys' help? Do you guys have an intake system, or tell us what a veteran can do to get in touch with you?
So there's a few ways. You can, one, go to the website where it says contact us, or it says, well, it's get help. You can fill that information out. It automatically comes to me, and it comes to Tricia. Tricia is my social worker. Then you can also, there's an 800 number that's on that website. That number comes into my phone, because typically when they're calling in, they're in crisis, and they need more of the clinician side of it than what my peers can do. So I can get them stable. And I can give, you know, well, my cell phone number is on the website as well. So the 800 number, the cell phone number on the website, you're going to get me. If I'm in a meeting or something, I will leave a message. I'll call you back. I don't do waiting list. I don't believe in waiting list. You know,
God, Pam.
when I say I'm
Wow.
available, I'm available. We had our board meeting last night, and basically there was someone that, you know, one of the board members said, hey, I need you to reach out to, and I did. And so there's nights I may be up until 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock talking to a veteran, talking to a first responder or their spouse, you know, because they're struggling.
Yeah. The demons
And
have come.
That's what we do. That's the mission.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Not we'll get back to you in a week or 2 weeks. You are there, I know. I know, Pam. That's amazing. That is amazing. Any events coming up? I think I asked that once, but any events coming up here in the next month? What's the next event for 22-0?
So the next big event, one of my peer coaches and I will be presenting at a national conference that will be in August. I will be at the New York SEAL team swim.
Hey, there you go.
I will be there again this year. Yes. So Bill Brown's on our board, but he asked me to come last year and has asked me to be there so I can be a support for the men and women that are there. Here's Pam if you need her, she's there. That kind of thing. So I'll be doing that in August as well. Outside of, in conjunction with 22-0, so we are partnered with different nonprofits, and we are partnered with Lisa Regina's A Right, like you're writing A Right to Heal.
Yes.
I serve on her board, and so that program has the Veteran Drone Program. We're involved with that. We're looking at bringing that into Tennessee. And then the other piece to that is Heroic Episodes. So Heroic Episodes is a series that was created by Lisa Regina. We're in what she calls the pre-production phase of that. So once we get all the funding to go onto the film set, then that will be something that we'll be doing too. So we're working closely with Lisa. But if you want to know more about Heroic Episodes, go to heroicepisodes.org and follow Heroic Episodes on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And
Nice.
Yeah.
Stories that need to be documented and told.
Yes. So she has, interviewed many veterans over the years, and those stories they are written into the series. And it's going to be the true, authentic story. So it's not the Hollywood glamour made up stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be keeping their stories alive. She actually, she was going to interview my late husband, but he ended up declining so fast. And so, I don't know, about 2 months after he passed away, she interviewed me for it. And
Wow.
so his story will still be in there and be alive for years to come for our children or for our grandchildren and our
Isn't that
great-grandchildren.
great? Wow. That's amazing. Dr. Pam Arnell, thank you for coming on the Red Friday podcast. And we are just so honored to partner with you and help in any way we can. Let's have you back on regularly and dive even further into this because I'm sure a lot of people have hit on the point of what do we do about this? You know what I mean? It's time to really sit down and do something about it, and put some pressure on the people at the top about this. You're out there doing God's work, taking a bite out of 22 a day, and I just want to thank you for doing that as a military kid who grew up in a military family. I've seen the PTSD, and having some pretty iconic veteran friends that have severe PTSD and looking at their struggles, it's really opened my eyes here in the last 5 years.
Yes.
Big
It
time.
is. Yes.
Thank you for all you do. Everybody, it's 220.org, right? Get over there, donate, and if you're a veteran in crisis, get on that website, and there's people to help you. Pam,
Absolutely.
any last minute thoughts?
Alan, I just am grateful that you asked me to come on and speak this evening. The other piece of that is you don't have to be triggering, but if you know that you have trauma and you want to get that trauma healed, reach out to us. I promise you, no one is going to know about it unless you tell them. So it's not going to be reported to the VA. Keep your rating. You've earned every bit of that. I just
Yeah.
want to see you healed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Pam, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on the Red Friday podcast. That's it for tonight, everybody. Have a great weekend. Keep wearing that red on Friday. And we'll keep the beer cold for them until they all come home, you know? Pam, it's a pleasure, and we're going to talk offline next week, and I got some ideas how we can help even more. So, yeah, thanks so much.
All right. You have
All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye. Red Friday podcast. Always a technical glitch with this software, though. Drives me
Is it?
crazy.
Oh.